Everybody, this is Drax bringing you your daily ride home, a podcast where we talk about life, the good, the bad, the ups, the downs, and all the crazy in between. As always, you can check us out on YouTube at Your Daily Ride Home, or you can check us out at Patreon at patreon.com/YDRH. You know, I've been struggling with what I want to talk about. There's a lot of things to cover, but there's also a lot of things that I don't know enough about to talk about and feel confident that I would be giving you accurate information. And I was talking this over with a buddy of mine, and he said, bro, just give them what you know. So that's what we're going to try to do. We're going to try to give y'all what I know. And here's something that I know. I don't know shit. I mean, seriously, the older I get, the more unsure of shit I am. It's funny because when I was younger, I thought I knew everything. I thought I had my whole life planned out. Thought I knew everything that was going to happen. And none of that ended up the way I thought it was going to end up. And that's crazy. It's crazy to think with no experience and no actual applied knowledge that I knew everything. And that got me to thinking. Because I've been talking to some of my buddies, and well, everybody does, as everyone does. And I thought to myself, how do I think? So I started reading, and I started doing a little bit of research. Now, clearly I haven't gone deep enough yet. But I mean, if you did everything that helped or benefited you and made only rational decisions, what would your life look like? Stop and think about it for a second. Do you make mostly logical decisions? I don't. My brain plays more tricks on me than my worst enemies. It's more manipulative than any person I've ever met, even a toxic person. I mean, it has deceived me for forever. And that's something that I think a lot of people don't think about, or maybe y'all do. I mean, maybe you think a lot about it like I do now. How do we think? And I was reading an article, and it said there's basically rational thought and then irrational thought. And that basically there is a desire or an emotion, and then a cognitive thought, and then an action. So, or there is a thought, and then an emotion, and then an action. So what they said is basically what I just said. There's either rational thought or irrational thought. And we have varying degrees of control over these things, because there are some things that society or our upbringing, and let me not say it too quickly, the nature versus nurture argument comes into play here, because some things are taught and some things are just genetically embedded in us to do certain things in order to not die, in order to propagate the species, to procreate, to live, and to grow as a species. And some things are just completely irrational. I mean, like, imagine people with phobias. It was an example that was given in the article. You see a spider and a person with a phobia that is hundreds of times larger than this little spider. Completely terrified, can't defend themselves against a spider. I mean, I saw a video of a lady driving down the road. There was a spider in her car. She jumped out of the car. Let the car go. I mean, this car is rolling. And she's sitting there on the side of the road because she jumped out. She did the roll. It was a tuck and roll maneuver. She's sitting there. Who lets their car roll down the road instead of stopping, putting it in park, getting out? There was an emotion, there was a thought, there was an action. As irrational as that might have been. And I look at things that I do where I should do this, but instead I do that. And I try to analyze this in my head, like, why, when you know this is what you want to do and this is what you should be doing, do you not do it? And have you noticed how your brain will make it okay that you weren't doing that thing that you want to do? And that brought us back to consciousness and the subconscious mind. The subconscious mind, from some of the books I've read and some of the things I've heard people talk about, is kind of like a computer. It just takes the data, and whatever you tell it to, that data is, it does that for that data. And it always wants to keep things the same. It doesn't want to let things change. And you'll see this when you try to create a good habit or try to break a bad habit. For instance, biting your nails. You know that it would look nicer. There's less chance of injury to yourself because you don't bite them too short if you used clippers and a nail file. But how many people just bite them? And you end up biting too deep, and you you tear off flesh, you got that little pain. When if you would have just waited a second, went in, grabbed the nail clippers, grabbed the file, it's a perfect cut, perfect clip, it's good to go. We don't do that. And your brain tells you, don't worry about it, is good. Now let's take a better example here. Let's take smoking. You know smoking's not good. You know we've got years and years and years of research saying that smoking is bad for you, and still people smoke. I was a smoker for 17 years, and I stopped, and then the e-cigs came out, and knowing that you shouldn't do that, I went and got an e-cig after like 5 or 6 years of not smoking at all. Luckily for me, the e-cig was a lot easier to quit than the cigarette. But why did we do the thing that we know was bad? And why did our brain keep telling us it was okay? I mean, it's like the alcoholic who has buddies around telling him, hey man, you got a drinking problem, and he doesn't see it. Your brain deceives your conscious self. It's really weird to actually have to see that in action, to see that in something as simple as smoking, or not going to sleep when you know you should go to sleep, or giving yourself something to do and then not doing it, like going to the gym, or not eating out at fast food places, making your lunch. And I mean, I'm sure a lot of y'all can relate to that. You get up and you're like, man, if I just made my lunches and had them ready for the week, not only would I eat better and feel better, but I'd save money. And then you find yourself at the freaking McDonald's eating something that barely qualifies as food. And you know it. But your brain's like, I was busy. Oh, I didn't have time. But you had the same amount of time as anybody else. You had plenty of time. Have you ever stopped and thought about that? I think about it every once in a while now. It's one of those things that, baffles me. That our brains can do that to us. That our brains can keep us like that. And once something's in, it's in. Your brain wants to keep it there. I say it a lot. You gotta be real careful with what you do, what you let yourself do, and who you hang around, because all that stuff puts you at risk of having bad things put into the programming of who you are. So, I don't know. That was just something I was thinking about. I wonder if y'all think about it. If you do, shoot out something that you do that you know you shouldn't do. And maybe let's spend a little bit of time working on it. Let's try to change one thing that we do that we know we shouldn't into one thing that we know we should. And maybe give a little bit more attention to the rational thought. Because if we did things more rationally, we thought them out better, we make better choices. And better choices always lead to a better life. Because anytime we don't choose the destination, well, then we're just following a path that could lead anywhere. Always try to know where you're going. Always try to have a rational plan. And always keep moving. You only get one shot in this life. There's no redos, there's no extra stuff. So keep it real. Alright guys, that's all I got for today. Stay tuned for the next podcast. And y'all have a great day.